Hello and welcome to a special here on my channel where I'm taking you through my offline save where I've done one whole season. I'm literally on the day of the start of the second season in the Ladbrokes Scottish Championship here with Brechin City. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to take you through last season and then I'm going to take you through the squad and the tactic and then obviously I'm going to give you an idea of what I plan for this season. And what I'm going to do as I do this offline save, every season I'm going to, at the end of it, well technically the beginning of the next one, I'm going to review the last season, preview the next one, and it'll sort of be maybe like a once a month sort of thing that just appears when I finish the season. So I started this one maybe about 2 days after the game released. I think just after I started LAFC I started this save. So yeah, it's about 3 weeks now it took me to do one season. It might take me a bit longer for the second one because I'm not going to be quite as satisfied with the loss as I was last season, which I'll explain in a second. So let's just go to the schedule, go to last season, and let's just go through it. So as you can see, we were knocked out in the group stage of the Betfred Cup, not being able to win a single game within 90 minutes, even against lower league opposition. This last season, we were just predicted to fight bravely against relegation. That was it. That was our entire objective. So us struggling against teams in the lower divisions was maybe not surprising. I mean, Montrose was a local derby, and I mean, they were 4-2 up at half-time, and ended up finishing 5-5. It was a very, very silly game because we got it back to 4-4, and for them to score a fifth, and then we scored an equaliser in the 94th minute. It was pretty crazy, and we had a lot of games like that, and I'll tell you why, because I'll show you the tactic I used last season when we get to that point. So we start off the season with a draw away at Queen of the South. Queen of the South had an average season. They finished about mid-table, but for an opening game of the season, that was good, because in real life, Brechin so far, and it's November the 27th as I record this, have only got 3 points. They picked up the third point the weekend just gone against Dundee. So, you know, they've not actually won a game in real life yet. We then played Livingston. We drew 0-0. And then obviously we went on this run here where we didn't get a win, including a 6-4 loss to the Aberdeen under-20s in the Iron Brew Cup, which is the Scottish version of the Checkatrade Trophy. It includes under-20 teams. It's just for teams from the Ladbrokes Championship and down, but it stops at Ladbrokes League 2, I believe. And some teams from Wales and Northern Ireland are invited as well, because, you know, reasons. We then picked up this amazing 3-3 draw against Falkirk. So we were 3-0 down, Ricky Little scoring an own goal, Ricky Little then scoring a goal, Isaac Lane and Andy Jackson, 93rd minute. It was pretty nuts. And then we went on to then beat Dumbarton 3-1 with Kim Herry and Isaac Lane scoring for us after going 1-0 down to get the win. Is decent because Dumbarton finished in the playoffs and got all the way to the playoff final against, I think it was Hamilton. So they did really well. But then we had a 7-2 loss to Dunfermline, which was the craziest game I've seen, even though I've had some crazy results after this. Like, we weren't outplayed. Like, it wasn't a 7-2 game. Like, it was a weird one. So it's waiting for the match report. It was really, really nutty. So we got a penalty straight away, straight from kickoff. We booted the ball up. We got tackled. I don't think the match report is coming. And then match stats. There we go. So as you can see, we both had 22 shots. They had 12 on target. We had 9. Equal possession. And yet we lost 7-2. It was really, really crazy. 2 braces and a hat-trick for them. Yeah, I can't quite explain that one. If you can explain that one, leave a comment down below. But Dunfermline did win the league. So that might explain it. We then lost to St Mirren, who finished just above us in the league, so it's kind of disappointing. We then beat Queen of the South and Livingston. So 2 games in a row that we really did win and win well. Didn't really play that well against Queen of the South, but we got 4 goals. And against Livingston, we were just the better team. First half was very dull. I was very defensive. I didn't want to concede early. Second half, I went more aggressive, and we got 2 goals near the end with Isaac Lane, who was our top goal scorer and like the second top goal scorer in the league, despite the fact at the end of the season he went on a real barren run. We then lost 5-3 to Morton. We were 5-0 down at half time. We then scored 3. No, we were 5-1 down, I should say. We scored in the 47th minute in injury time. And going back to 5-3, it was really crazy. And we do this a lot. We concede loads of goals in the first half, and second half we just seem to wake up. We then beat St Mirren 1-0, a penalty, Isaac Lane. We didn't play well. We scraped to win. But I mean, you kind of have to do that in our situation. We then went on a long run of that win. But then we beat Morton 3-2. Once again, we got it to 3-1. So they all went 1-0 up. We got it to 3-1. They then scored in the 90th minute, almost right after we scored. And it was really nerve-wracking last couple of minutes. We did beat Linlithgow Rose in the Scottish Cup as well. So that's cool. 95th minute winner. We're very good late on in games. I'll say that much. We then played Stirling away, 2-2 in the Cup. Scoring in the last minute again to take it to a replay, which we did win 2-1 thanks to an 89th minute winner. They then scored in the 92nd. I mean, the Scottish leagues are pretty crazy. We drew 2-2 with Queen of the South again, coming back twice. So they took the lead twice and we came back. We then lost to Dumbarton and then lost to St Johnstone. But I thought we played really well. We got it to 1-1. We held our own, and I was quite proud of the result. We then played Falkirk in another insane game. So they went 1-0 up. We then went 2-1 up. They then went 4-2 up. We then brought it to 4-4. It was really, really weird again, and that happens a lot. We then had this awful run where we didn't win for, 5 games, and against teams around as well like St Mirren and Dumbarton at this point were actually only like 10 points ahead of us, so I felt we had a chance. But then we played Morton and we won 3-4 with a goal in the 93rd minute again, but they were 3-0 up and we scored 4 second half goals and they had a man sent off right near the end, and it was nuts. I mean, they're all pretty nuts. We then went on another run where we didn't really get much. We drew with Dunfermline, who went on to win the league. A goal from Adam Watson, who we had on loan from Hibs for the season. We then went into the relegation playoffs after losing our last 2 games. Livingston were already relegated by this point. That's another reason why I was quite proud of this team. This was our rotated team. I wanted to rest as many people as possible. And it was the same with these last 2 games as well, because the playoffs are like 3 days later after you finish the season. So that was only Livingston's second win of the season, but they were already down at that point, so I didn't really care. We then played Airdrie and won 4-2 away from home before winning 2-1 at home in the semi-final relegation playoff. We then played Wraith Rovers in the final of the playoffs over 2 legs, winning 2-0 in the first leg, Kim Herry and Finn Graham, and then drawing 2-2 in the second leg, meaning that we stayed up on aggregate. So we've got a busy fixture list this season. We've already had a terrible pre-season, a pretty terrible Betfred Cup. I mean, we lost 3-0 to Stirling. I'm trying to teach a new tactic, and sometimes it seems to work. Like this Middlesbrough game, they scored in the 87th minute to win, and it was pretty even. Same with Cardiff, it was pretty even. We drew with Partick Thistle, who are our parent club. We only lost 3-2 to Midtjylland, who are obviously a Europa League level club, constantly getting in that competition. You know, and we're beating the local teams 7-0 and 7-1, as you probably saw in the bottom of the last one. And yet, even Peterhead, it was like a really nerve-wracking game. We didn't really play well. So I've got to improve the players in the squad, we're still not that great. But we are now professional, which is important because our finances are terrible. But I'll show you the tactics. So last season we were using this tactic. So wing backs, 3 at the back, 2 midfielders, attacking mid. Basically lump the ball forward and hope the strikers get onto it. When we were losing, we'd go onto this one. The wing backs were more attacking, as were the midfielders. But this season we're going for a more counter-attacking style where we're going to basically play the ball quickly up the middle. What I might do is change him to a Carroll. Maybe I'll change some Mazzala. Just right. Let's make him a Carroll. Despite the fact he is one of our better players and we're playing him out of position. What if we do that? It's about the same. So it's about playing the ball quickly up the middle, working it into the box, and hopefully getting the goal before they react. Now I'll take you through transfers for the last 2 seasons, just to give you an idea. So obviously, a lot of players leaving, not many. A lot of them leaving for little money because they wanted out, and they weren't. They were like wingers or really terrible goalkeepers. A couple of players leaving on loan. But bringing in is where we did some good business. So we brought in Kim Herry was our big signing. He was a 2.5 star when we signed him. He's now 3.5 star, 5-star potential, Romanian, under 19 international. He was released by Sassuolo. And if you were doing a lower league career, be that in England or anywhere really, sign this guy up. He is really good, and he's got good enough potential to be a Scottish Premiership, so around about an English Championship level striker. So if the top league is around about ranked about 20th in terms of the UEFA rankings, this guy will be a real gem for you. We signed a couple of young players. Jordan Houston was a great one that we had. They won't loan him back to us. We're not playing with wing backs now, so I don't know if we'd really use him. But he was really, really impressive. 31 appearances. He'd never scored in the league, but he did score multiple times in the cup for us. So he's got 3 goals in the cup competitions because we were playing him more attacking, because we were playing lesser teams. Really good signing. Rowan Campbell was a new gen who just was in the game at the beginning, who is a 2-star player with 5-star potential, signed on a free from Queen's Park. We put him up for loan list and Hearts wanted him. I let him go on loan to Hearts because they are in the Premiership, so they probably have better facilities than us because we have like the worst possible facilities. Who else should I bring in? So we brought in Freddie Yao. Chris Keddings was our number 1 goalkeeper. He still is. I want to replace him because last year he was fine, but when you concede 75 goals and 29 appearances in the league, it's not really great, even for a team that's struggling. Even though he did pull off some great appearances. Ricky Little from Arbroath, we are transitioning him again because he's now not good enough for the team. But at the time, he was a decent centre-back. At the end of last season, we did bring in Lawrence Shankland, who had been released by Ayr 6 months previously. I tried to sign him the moment he was released, but he wanted like $5,000. After 6 months not playing, he only wanted 1.5, so that was pretty useful. He's a former Aberdeen youth player, so that's a pretty decent signing. And then this season, a load of players who've been released, including we brought in Shane Codger Carroll, who is not great, but we brought him in more to be a backup to Kim Herry because we didn't have any other attacking midfielders at the club. So we were quite lucky that he didn't get injured last season, because the other one that I brought in, this Primislav Dichnauquits, is not very good at all. He only wanted a non-contract. Wasn't great. We brought in Grant Gallagher from Dumbarton. Obviously, no one really knows these. Unless you're really into Scottish football, you won't know them. But the one that I'm most proud of is John Stead, who is our under-20s manager as well as a striker. and is an absolute lower league legend in English football. I mean, you know, he played for Huddersfield, Blackburn, Sunderland, Derby, Sheffield United, Ipswich, Coventry, Bristol City, Huddersfield again, Oldham, Bradford, Notts County, and he's finally come up to Scotland to take on a role as an under-20s manager. He's a pretty terrible manager, might I add. Not a great manager, but I mean, it's John Stead. That's all I really care about. And we've let some players leave on loan, including Rowan Campbell. So this season, they just want me to avoid automatic relegation. I feel that will be doable because Alloa are semi-professional. Although they managed to sign Gary Fraser, and he didn't want to come to us when I tried to bring him in on a transfer. I suppose it is a loan, but when I tried to bring him on a permanent transfer, he was just like, I don't want to play at that level. So that's quite annoying. Obviously, Ross County have been relegated. Inverness are still down here. Dundee United are still down here. Falkirk are down here, obviously. Big team. St Mirren have been in the Premiership recently. So there's a lot of big teams still in this division. And once again, if I can finish there, I mean, I would have completed my objective. The board would be happy. But the aim is hopefully to finish 8th. Finish the season. Don't bother with the playoffs. Keep the players fresh. And, you know, start building for next season, maybe to start pushing towards the playoffs. Because, you know, I want to have a squad that by the time we get promoted is good enough to stay promoted, basically. Although for the first season we didn't have any under-20s. That didn't exist. But yeah, I think that's really about it. If we look at the team report quickly, Lawrence Shanklin is the best of 7 players to play up front. We've got 12.5k of our wage budget left. Ewan Spark and Willie Dyer are some good players. Charlie Rowan is a great centre-back. So defensively, we're basically being told, you're doing really well. Just need a better goalkeeper. We tried to sign someone. His name was Aaron Lennox. He was playing for Wraith last year. 4-star goalkeeper. He agreed a contract, but they were like, no, you need a work permit. But he was playing here, and he was playing in England before that. So I don't quite know why it was rejected. Even when we appealed it, they still rejected it. We've no transfer budget. That's literally the case all season. I'm not quite sure how we're going to make any money unless we do really well in the league. I mean, the projection is dire, I think is the way to do it. But yeah, that is Brechin City. So like I said, I will do this more. If you guys want, leave a like if you want me to do this all the time, every time I finish a season. Please, you know, like it, you know, just because I said so. That'd be nice. Subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.